Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, January the 3rd, 2021. I would be willing to bet that in about the middle of Q2 there were a lot of people who were wondering if we would actually make it to 2021, but we have successfully made it to 2021, and I hope that all of you had a safe and celebratory rollover from New Year's Eve to New Year's Day, however you chose to do that. Safety first, health first, those things. But I'm glad to see you here in the new year. If you are new to my Flosstube channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and tuning in, because you know all the things that you're going to be seeing because you've seen it all before. That's not true. New things in 2021, as we discussed in my last video. And with that, so the topic today is let's talk 2021, and as usual, I'm going to do sort of my typical things first, then we're going to talk about some changes, and then we'll talk about the topic. So with that, what have I been stitching on? Well, no big surprise. So new year, new name. Last year I was calling this the Marbeck Nativity. I am choosing this year in 2021 to call it the Never Ending Nativity, although it really does need to end this year. So here is my camel. Did I get all the things that I wanted to accomplish before the end of the year accomplished? Of course not, because that never happens with me. So what did I accomplish? So I finished off the head, including all of the back stitching. So I've done all of the, so first of all, I've done all of the Krynic in the head, and believe it or not, there are 4 colors of Krynic in that head. I've done all of the back stitching in the head. I've done all of the back stitching down here along the back of the neck, at the front of the legs, at the back of the camel. I have started filling in these little empty spaces, which even when they're filled in, they still look like they're empty, with Krynic blending filament, 2 strands, because we know how much I love that. My goal for today for stitching on this is I want to finish, there's a couple more things of back stitching in DMC that I want to finish. And then I'm going to finish these Krynic spots, and then I really am going to go up and do those lovely beams. Who knows how long that's going to take. So there is my camel, still not finished, still not at the spot where I was hoping it was going to be by the end of the year, but still further ahead than it was last week, which is technically positive steps. So there's my camel. We are continuing on with the camel. I have set myself some goals around what I want to accomplish with respect to the nativity. I have decided that I'm not going to jinx myself by saying it out loud and putting it out on Flosstube, because I've decided that that's the thing that's preventing me from accomplishing those goals. Anyway, we'll see how well I do. So that was one of the things, but of course, as I noted in my last video, new year, new start. It was so great to work on something new. So what was my new year, new start? So my new year, new start is a piece by Just Nan. It actually comes in 3 charts. There's a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. And it's elderly. So the copyright on this chart is one of the charts is 2020. I'm betting the other one was, nope, they're all, or not 2020. The copyright is 2000. So this is a chart that I am willing to say I've probably had in my stash for 20 years and have never started it. So this is the year I'm going to start it and hopefully get it completed. And so what chart is that, you say? So Yeah, the other part on this one is I've had this chart so long that it was released, it went out of print, and has been re-released. Yeah, that's what happens over 20 years. I've got it from print run number 1. I've got the first batch. So what did I start? Well, this is Lady Scarlet's Journey by Just Nan. Ooh, that's not going to work out well for me. I don't know how we're going to, there we go. Stitch diagrams. So it comes in 3 parts. So I'm clearly working on part 1 right now, which is this. So it's a band sampler, and it essentially starts, I'm calling this at the, the beginning of the year, and by the time you get to part 3, I'm calling this the Christmas section, because I'm calling that Santa's boots, wreath on the door, Christmas trees, all that kind of stuff. So how far? So I started it on New Year's Day. I have worked on it every day in 2020. So one of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of for local stitchers is having a challenge to work at least 1 hour a day on a project. And so this is the project that I've chosen. So some days, like today, I've actually stitched on both this one as well as my camel. But I'm choosing, for the purposes of the challenge of working an hour, of stitching an hour every day, that this is the project that I'm stitching an hour on. So where have I gotten to on this? So this is my start. I'm doing this on a 28 count Pewter Jobelan. So I've done all of band number 1, and I've done all of band number 2. I think it's called band number 2. Yes. Band number 3 is for tomorrow. But the joke is on me a little bit, because you'll never guess. In band number 1, what did I get to do? I got to use Krynic right off the bat. Wasn't that exciting? That moon, of course, is in Krynic, number 4 braid. So the other thing about Just Nan, certainly the band samplers that she has done, is that there are specialty stitches in there. She has fantastic diagrams. Fantastic diagrams. So again, the center of those 2 large snowflakes are diamond eyelets. Easy to do, don't worry about that. And then these other 2 snowflakes here, see, my thing is, I don't remember what they're called. I just stitched according to, these are diamond crosses that make up those. And those lovely 2 bluebirds are stitched over 1. And true to form, I stitched the first bird, and about, I'd say 75% of the way through discovered I'd made an error, and so I unstitched it back to the error, which I'd made quite close to the top, and restitched it, and then promptly moved over to, so I did the top one first and then moved over here, and then I promptly went and said, okay, I'll do bird number 2 because I got the hang of this, and promptly stitched about 75% of bird number 2 and discovered I made an error, a different error. At least I hadn't repeated the error. Had to unstitch it back really close to where I had started, like about stitch number 10. Anyway, unstitched it, re-stitched it. So I really feel like even though there are only 2 birds that are showing here, I've actually stitched the birds 3 times. Isn't that nice? Welcome 2021. I should really learn how to count better and pay attention to my pattern. This is what happens when you're just trying to, blow through things. Had no problems, didn't stitch anything wrong in the first band, but those 1/1s. So yes, it's coming along nicely. Another thing about this, again, with this being a 20-year-old pattern, so this border over here is actually done in 3 different colors. This is not a variegated thread, although you could substitute a variegated thread, but I'm choosing to follow the pattern, believe it or not. And so there's where I am. New year, new start. It feels great. I feel like I'm making good progress on this. Again, so, and I have stitched this side border all the way down. So this is the end of part 1. So like I say, there's 3 parts to this particular, to actually make the entire banner. You don't have to make the entire banner, but I'm planning on making the entire banner. And so, like I say, I've stitched the border all the way down to the end. Now there's a couple of spots left here. So there's actually 2 bees and 2 ladybugs that go in there, because Lady Scarlet is actually a ladybug. There's also beads that go both in this first band here, as well as there's some beads that belong down here in band number 2. My plan is to not put those at the moment. My plan is not to put those on until I have finished all 3 parts. I reserve the right to change my mind, you know, when I get down to here. I may change my mind and decide that I'm going to go back in and put them in, so I don't have to come back and do them. The only bead that I wouldn't put on is the charm, actually. So there is a Ladybug Charm that goes on this particular portion of the banner, and it's just too big. Like, that's not one that I would be comfortable putting on until the very end. But the other ones, right now I'm saying I'm not putting them in. Check back in a week, 2 weeks, we'll see how we feel about it. But so far it's coming along well. I'm looking forward to my next band, which is another specialty stitch thing. So the next band is a 3-color triple cross. Now, I'm not worried about doing it. I can follow a stitch diagram, just follow the numbers and letters and instructions. And in this particular chart, there are actually instructions. She's written out instructions for every single band, including a recommendation is the order in which you start things. So for example, on this band, it was do the 2 large snowflakes, followed by these 2 smaller snowflakes, followed by the birds. And I agree conceptually with that. Some of the individual recommendations as to how to stitch them, I didn't necessarily follow those because I liked my way better. End result is the same. But that is my new year, new start. It's coming along. I'm quite happy with it. And like I say, this is the piece that I am using for a local Facebook group for their challenge, which is stitch 1 hour a day for 10 days. So this shows my progress up to the end of today. So I did stitch on this morning to put in my hour. So I do need to post my pictures in the group. And so there we go. Working on 2 things. So the challenge for me is going to be, how do I balance my new project as well as making progress on my old project, also known as the Never-Ending Nativity. So tune in next week. Have I really figured that out? No. Certainly when I got to January 1st, I was like, that's it. I'm not working on the camel. Today is devoted entirely to the first band. So I was very productive getting that first band. You know, over the next couple of days, I've worked on finishing those border pieces, but we're now officially into the year. So it'll be interesting to see how I balance that, because as we all know, I really do need to get the Never-Ending Nativity finished so it can stop being the Never-Ending Nativity. Everyone will feel better if I got that thing finished. So that's what I've been stitching on. All right, let's talk Stashquisitions. So here's a little bit of the 2021 topic. We'll stop for a second. So Stitch from Stash. So I am doing Stitch from Stash, including at the end of the year, I made a phone call into my LNS where I had some things on order. So for example, I had ordered some Picture This Plus fabric back in September. At that time, it was before they had said that they were on the 5 months, so I thought there was a possibility that I would actually receive that by the end of the year. That turned out not to be the case. I had also ordered a few other things that the shipment unfortunately got held up in customs. If it were not held up in customs, it would have been received by the shop, and I would have been able to buy it and purchase it, and it would all been in my house before the beginning of the year. But at this point in time, as far as I know, customs still has the shipment, and we're probably, I'm calling it 2 to 3 weeks away from maybe that arriving at the shop. So I had a lovely conversation with my shop owner about the things that I had in the order book and bought a gift certificate, which hopefully, if we've done the math correctly, will cover the things that I had in the order book, so that we are starting everything that I've ordered in 2020, while not necessarily received, has been paid for. It's been ordered and paid for. Now it just turns into a, whether or not I receive it when I receive it. And that includes, I have a couple of things that I ordered from the US, which have not come in either. I think the shipping notifications have come, but I haven't received them. And welcome to the mail system. The mail is trying to recover, but I'm also worried about, so up here in Canada, Boxing Day sales, Boxing Week sales. I feel like Boxing Week has been going on pretty much since Black Friday. But, it's on the news both here and in the US about just how backlogged the system is. And again, my LNS has a shipment that's tied up in customs. So when that gets out of customs right now is anybody's guess. Hey. And some shipments, and this is the other wonderful thing about shipments in the postal system these days, sometimes the shipments go like lickety-split, and sometimes the shipments take forever. It's my whole grand old story that you and someone in the household beside you order the exact same thing from the exact same store on the exact same day within minutes of each other, and the packages can arrive to you anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks apart. Welcome to the mail system these days. All right, so what else have I added to my stash? So I mentioned this last week that I had purchased some things last week and had forgotten to leave them out for the purposes of the video. So I have pulled those out. One is some Picture This Plus fabric. So this is 32, let me just get something white here. I don't know if this is going to help or not. So this is 32 count Lugana from Picture This Plus in spring. And it's quite funny because the shop where I was buying this from, the people there know me very well, and they were like, I'm sure you're coming here to pick up something blue. And I laughed and I said, no. And then they looked at my things and they went, okay, this is not what I was expecting. And the interesting thing is they also had a small piece of it. So this is a wide quarter. But they also had a piece in 28 count Lugana. And because it happened to be there and I saw it, I picked it up. And I wanted you to have a look at it. Now, is it possible that one of these was mislabeled? Maybe. Is it possible that these really are? This will highlight how different overdyed fabrics can be. So here is the 28 count. 32 Lugana, 28 count Lugana. Now, they're titled the same thing. I think maybe one of them, now it could be, maybe one of them was mislabeled. It could also be that the dye lots are just that different. It could be that the fabrics take the dye this differently. But again, for me, now I bought both of them. I'm totally fine with both of them. You know, am I fussed that they're both called spring and that they look this different? No, that doesn't bother me at all, because they wouldn't be used for the same thing. But I thought it was a really fantastic example of, you know, you can be in a store and looking at an overdyed fabric and they could be called the same things and they could be this different. So this is not me playing with anything on the camera, because we all know I don't have the technical capabilities to do that. So these are 2 pieces of fabric, both from Picture This Plus, both packaged up as spring. 28 count Lugana, 32 count Lugana. Don't they look different? Yes. So again, the people at my store thought it was very interesting, because I'm known for being blues and grays and sometimes purple fabrics. The green, they were like, we didn't see this coming, but okay. So those are fabrics. Like I say, I've got 2 more pieces of Picture This Plus fabric on order. Ordered them at the beginning of September. To my knowledge, well, 1, I know that they have not shown up at my store. 2, I don't even think that they've gotten a shipping notification. In fact, I think there's probably 1 more order that was placed prior to September that they're still waiting for. Because don't forget, 5 months. 5 months from the time you place an order for something. Yeah. All right. So, did a few charts as well. So this one is a collaboration between Hands-On Design and Just Another Button Company. So this is from 2015, so it's not terribly old, but I don't feel like it's been well covered. And I stumbled across this one, well, this one and the other one. So this is called Liberty Bouquet. And so, if you can tell, so there are a few buttons there. So this is the chart. This is the button pack. Okay, and there's a butterfly. So there you go. So I got that. My store had to order these in. So not, again, as I said, not a recent release, but you can still order it. And again, this is another one, also a collaboration between Hands-On Design and Just Another Button Company, called Around the Ball. And the bead pack for that. Now, as you can see down here at the bottom, it was a series of 3. I've only ordered 2. I haven't ordered the 3rd one. I'm debating whether or not I really want that one. And my expectation, again, so this is something where I go, I'm not expecting that it's going to go out of print anytime soon. And either I wait until 2022, or if I've got room in my Stitch from Stash budget, I can purchase it that way. So we'll see. I don't have any plans to imminently add that to the collection, but noodling on it. And the other one, because like I say, I was on a bit of a Just Another Button Company thing. This came up in one of the groups where it was talking about Art to Heart charts. And my understanding is Art to Heart is really the name for Just Another Button Company, where they actually release their own patterns. And so this is their Merry Christmas. So just a couple of buttons on that one. Now, I don't know that I would necessarily do it on that fabric, although technically I feel like I've got that in my stash now. So this is not part of my plans for 2021 at the moment. But we all know that my plans for 2021 have left room, that there is flexibility, that I can swap some things out periodically depending on how I feel. But like I say, I was on a bit of a kick. I could order it I've received it, and I'm glad that I have it in my stash. All right. The last thing that I ordered, so this was interesting because I ordered this, I'm looking around for, there it is. So I ordered this just after Christmas, and again, welcome to the postal system, and managed to receive it before the new year, which I thought was pretty good. So this is what it looks like. So I ordered myself a thread bed. So what is a thread bed? Well, it's really just a case that looks like this. So this is batting type stuff here. And really what I use it for is so that when I'm, when I'm working on anything, and that I put my spare threads, because I tend to be pulling off of, other than Krynic, I tend to be pulling off of a 6-strand of DMC. And so I put them on here so that they don't, historically I've been putting them on the edge of the chair, and sometimes they get hooked on my sleeve, or they fall down between the cushion or off the other side of the arm, and then I have to fish them off the floor. So I have been using this, and I have enjoyed it, because it also means at the end of an evening, if I've got stuff, before, if I was finishing off my stitching and I still had some stuff, I would tend to put it back in its floss away bag and then take it out the following day. And now what I've been doing is I've just been folding this up and closing it and leaving it on the side of my chair, so that then, anyway. So I've acquired this, I'm using it, I'm enjoying it. I got this from an Etsy seller, so I will put a link to that in the notes below. So those are my Stashquisitions. Now, normally I would give you a free chart of the week, but that is a portion of the program that is changing in 2021. Why? Because it's really hard to come up with a chart every single week. And it was interesting, I was talking to a friend of mine this week where I said I had stumbled across a YouTuber, Flosstuber, who was, for Flossmas, was talking about free charts, and I was like very excited, and so I went through very quickly went through all of her Flossmas videos, looking at the free charts, and went, I've pretty much talked about all of those already, so not a lot there. Now, does it mean that I'm never going to talk about free charts again? Nope. Periodically, we will be doing free charts. And certainly if I come across ones like Pandemic, which was notable, what was the other one? The Pine Needles one. That's one, like I would do that again in a heartbeat if I stumbled across that one. It's interesting because I'm part of the Facebook group for that particular stitch along, which, as we all know, stitch along to me means you've downloaded the parts. It doesn't mean what you're actually going to stitch it. It means you've downloaded the parts. And again, there are people who are only just now discovering that Advent Sal and have joined the group, so they joined on the second, are like, okay, great, where are the free charts? Well, you can join the group now, no problem. You can see people stitching on it, but the free pattern is no longer free. You can still get the chart, you just have to pay for it. So we all know my watchwords are, when you find a free pattern that you like, download it. If you find a free chart that you're on the fence about, where you kind of like it but you're not really sure, my advice is download it anyway. Because when you go back, it may not be there. And I know that for sure for me, that I've downloaded some charts from, many years ago, where the designers have closed up shop and you can't get them at all, period. So I'm very grateful that I downloaded them. Usually, like there's one in particular I'm thinking of, as soon as I found out that they were closing up shop and giving up. Generally it was quite frankly due to the pirating of her charts, that I went on there and downloaded all of her free charts, which I think are fantastic. Have I stitched any of them since they closed up shop? No, that's not the point. The point is I have the free charts. I got them legally. I downloaded from the site, and I'm very grateful that I have them, because if I went to go and try and find them, either I would have to get it off of a site where they were being pirated, or I wouldn't get it at all. So get it while the getting is good. All right. So if you only came here to see stitching and Stashquisitions and stuff like that, thank you for stopping by. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the notes below. Always happy to answer any questions or to talk about topics that you would like me to address. So feel free to leave those in the comments below. So what's the topic this week? Let's talk 2021. So I talked a little bit about last week about my plans, and I showed my basket. So thank you for the comments that came in about they liked how my basket was. You'll be thrilled to know, I'm sure, that I'm still locating on the perfect spot for that basket. This is the first year I've had that basket, so I'm now looking for the perfect spot to keep those lovely grouping of project bags and all that kind of stuff. So that's part of my, over the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping to find the perfect spot for those. So 2021, so I walked you through the plans. I showed you that I'd kitted up a whole bunch of things. So let's talk first Stitch from Stash. So I'm planning on doing Stitch from Stash. This is one thing that I am putting out there publicly because I am wanting all of you to hold me accountable. This, again, as I've mentioned, it doesn't mean that you won't be seeing some Stashquisitions for a couple of reasons. One, I ordered some stuff before the end of the year, which I paid for, which has not yet arrived. So as those come in, you'll be seeing those. As well, a very good friend of mine gave me my birthday gift and my Christmas gift, which was a gift certificate to my LNS. So I do have that gift certificate in reserve so that I can purchase some things. So Stitch from Stash, how does Stitch from Stash work? So first of all, you are allowed to set a budget of what you can spend every month. Now, the maximum, so the group that I belong to is a group that is run by Stephanie Kine of Ms. Oh So Crafty. I will put a link to the Facebook group below in case you're wanting to see what goes on in there. And so they do have some rules around how it works in their group. There are more than one Stitch from Stash groups on Facebook. I'm choosing to be a part of that particular one because this is my first year doing Stitch from Stash, and I know myself, and I'm not very good. Working at it, but not great at it. Which is why my friends sometimes laugh when I say that I'm doing Stitch from Stash, but they're all going to be very supportive for 2021 while I do Stitch from Stash. Hence, I'm trying to get caught up on, you know, patterns that I've had for, 20 years. I'm glad they're in my stash, and it's time to start working on them. So the budget that I have set for myself is $25 US. Now they sort of say, so that's the maximum. It can't be any more than that. They also have, if you are part of like a Fabric of the Month Club or a Thread of the Month Club, something like that, that does not count towards your budget. Remember that week where I was talking about that I was thinking about signing up for a Thread program, but I successfully talked myself out of it? Yes. So I could have participated in that and it would not have counted towards my budget, but I'm trying to be better because the Thread Club that I was contemplating doesn't factor into any of the projects that I've picked for 2021. So there's that. So I've set my budget at $25 a month. So it runs in 2 chunks. It runs from January to June and then from July to December. Do you have to be positive at the end of every single month? No. To be eligible, I think there's a drawing for some type of prize. I don't know what the prize is. That's not really necessarily why I'm a part of this. You need to be positive at the end of each of those 6-month time periods. And so what you do is at the end of every month, you do a posting in the Facebook group, and it shows, here was my budget. So for me, that's going to be $25 US, which means if I purchase anything during the month of January, I'm going to be converting that to US dollars. So you start with a budget, you deduct the amount that you've spent, and then you get credit for either selling things out of your stash or for finishes. So if I'm, so for example, this lovely camel, let's pretend I do a really good job and I finish the camel in January. Now there's a grid on how you come up with your credit for your finishes. And so you take the height and the width, you add them together. Anyway, there's a whole math thing going on, and then you get specific dollar values for the size of your chart. You get, a finish can be if you finished a page of full coverage, and there's math on how to do that. So there's all sorts of math involved in there. There's specific dollar values for the sizes of these things, but you get credits for if you've used specialty stitches, if you've used specialty fibers, if you've used beads. So the camel will be a funny one, because I think that's one I would actually send it into Stephanie and find out exactly what this would count for, because anyway, whatever. Now, I don't know when I'm going to finish the camel, so let's not get excited. But I also had a laugh because I was looking at my January start and went, congratulations, based on the first two bands, I've already got a specialty fiber because I'm using Krynic. Now there's more Krynic coming, and another specialty fiber, more than one specialty fiber. I've also done, I've done 1/1 plus the diamond cross plus an eyelet. So congratulations, welcome to pattern number 1 of the 3, and I've already got a specialty fiber. There's beads, which I've not yet put on, but there's beads coming, specialty fiber, beads, and specialty stitches. So I get the bonuses for those. And there's 3 charts. If I manage to finish the whole chart in January, anyway, all sorts of math involved in how I would claim credit for that. We'll worry about that as check in at the end of the month and see how I'm doing on my math. I am planning on not only posting in the Facebook group what my math is for Stitch from Stash, I am planning on putting that in my video so that you all can hold me accountable for my Stitch from Stash goals. So that's Stitch from Stash. The other part of the planning, again, so you saw that I've packaged up all of the projects that I currently think that I'm going to be working on in 2021. The concept that I've planned out is at the beginning of every single month of 2021, I am planning on starting a new project, period. And do I think that all of those projects will be completed in the month that they are started? No. Some of them, I think some of them I'm hoping that I will be able to finish them in the month that I work on them. Some of them I know that they're just too big. There's no way that I will be able to finish those in the month. And come the end of the month, I have a new start the following month. So this is where it's also going to get interesting to see what I choose to do on how I balance multiple projects. So if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I have been largely a monogamous stitcher, which I think is many of you as well, which is why you tune in, because you can associate with what I'm doing, saying it's the same project over and over and over again. Some weeks are better than others. So it will be interesting to watch how I juggle more than one project. And so certainly we talked about this as we were heading towards the end of 2020, that I was getting a little burned out on the nativity. But I was choosing not to work on something just to break it up, because I felt that if I worked on something else, I would probably not go back to the nativity. And I think that paid off for me in 2020. Still didn't get as much accomplished in 2020 as I was wanting to. I think to a certain extent because of that burnout factor that was going on. So January is going to be an interesting month for me because the nativity is a carryover from 2020. and I have a new start, and I have some goals that I've set for myself with how I'm managing that new project. So how I balance the new project plus the nativity is going to be interesting. I don't really have a concrete plan as to how I'm going to work that out. So tune in next week. You know, here we go. It's the beginning of a new week. I've got both of them on their scroll rods ready to go. I've already worked on my new project today, so I worked on that this morning, and I have a plan for what I'm going to work on the camel tonight. Now, it's a weekend, it's Sunday, so I have that luxury of being able to, you know, do something in the morning as well as do something in the evening. But how that translates into a regular week, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And certainly, you know, the other thing for you is, well, we've enjoyed having the Christmas tree and I love having it here. While this video is being uploaded, I am planning on starting to work on taking down the Christmas tree. So I'm working on, so normally I actually take the decorations down starting after Epiphany, which is January the 6th. This year, for some reason, I'm ready to take Christmas down. It's a little bit unusual for me, but I'm just saying 2020 overall was an unusual year, so we're just going to go with it. So I'm close to having the decorations in my family room down. This is my next project. And the other thing for you, you've now seen multiple areas of the house where I've been filming these things, so feel free to wait in the comments and view where you would like me to film. Haven't quite decided that. Anyway, neither here nor there. If you have strong opinions, feel free to put them in the comments below. If you have no opinions, sort of say, I don't really care. I'm not coming for the background. And with that, so those are my plans for 2021. New project every month. Stitch from Stash. I will be posting, I will be publicly telling you at the end of the month what I've been doing. Again, you will, it's not to say that there will be no Stashquisitions. Let's see how well I do. I've had a few moments. I've added some things into a cart, but I have successfully not pushed purchase. So, and sometimes they say, actually, I've been, have been doing some reading on that, where sometimes it's just the act of putting something into a cart online gives your brain the same pleasure sensation. You just don't actually check out. Put it into the cart and then don't check out. And technically your brain reads it as the same, that it technically gives you the same amount of pleasure as if you actually purchased it. So interesting. Like I say, I've added a few things to a cart. I have not checked out. You know, I've looked at a lot of the sales that have started in the new year, some of which I really wish I could participate in. So all those lovely people that are starting Winter Rose Manor, that was their New Year, New Start, which sounds lovely, but I have decided, and I did contemplate it, that I could, hey, because I could still, I had enough stuff in the house that I could have kitted that up and I could have started Winter Rose Manor, which I think is a fantastic chart and I would love to stitch it. But it's actually not in my 2021 plans. I own the chart, so it's not like I'm at risk of not being able to stitch it at some point. But I kept with my original plan because I went, after having had this in my stash for 20 years, it was time to actually start working on it. So I stuck with my original goal, with my original New Year, New Start plan. I'm following those people that are stitching on Winter Rose Manor and watching all the people change the colors, which I think is hilarious. There's also the Galliano bookshelf stitch along. That one looks fantastic. So here's another one. I contemplated before the new year, because as long as I bought it before January 1st, it wouldn't count toward my Stitch from Stash budget. I contemplated buying the chart, even though I didn't have plans to stitch it. And I successfully talked myself out of it and said, you've actually come up with a plan for all of 2021. You've got stuff already kitted up that will take you all of 2021. You probably don't need this right now. Now, doesn't mean I can't buy it over the course of the year. Doesn't mean, but one of the other things that I'm hoping will happen with the Stitch from Stash is I have a reasonable amount of stash. I'm really hoping with the stuff that I've kitted up that it's going to get me excited about actually working on the stuff that I have in my stash. Now, doesn't mean that I can't be distracted by the shiny new things, because I know that's going to happen. There's a whole series of releases that are coming out in March. There's that, they're having an online expo, I think it's called needleworkexpo.com, where they're doing something in the first weekend of March, I think is when Nashville would have been. And so I think this Needlework Expo is sort of trying to sort of do a online version of Nashville. The Nashville Needlework Market has pushed its date back. It's now scheduled for May. Whether or not everybody can go, at this point, I'm still saying is an unknown. So it's great that we've got vaccines and that people are now getting access to vaccines. You know, I'm holding back from getting the vaccination, not because I'm against the vaccination, but I do feel that people that are in higher risk situations than me should get their vaccines before I do. So for example, my mom, who has a specific lung disease associated with her arthritis, I'm holding back because I think she should get her vaccination before I get mine, because she's substantially more at risk both for age and because of her health condition. Not to mention frontline workers, hospital staff, people in the medical fields. You know, that's where I go, like, let's give priority to the people who really are more at risk, people in nursing homes. Let's let them get their vaccinations before someone like me goes in and gets my dosage. But I am expecting that there will come a point in time where I go and I do go get a vaccination. I'm just holding back at the moment, so that, because there isn't enough vaccines right now for everyone, so I would like to give preferential treatment to the people that I feel need it more than I do. And with that, I hope everybody's having a good start to their new year. I hope that you're coming up with some plans for 2021. I know that there are some people out there who are going, their whole plan for 21 is to stitch what you want, when you want, which is totally a plan too. That's absolutely a plan, and I'm all for that one as well. And I hope that you are actually specifically making some time in your schedule for stitching, because there are a lot of actual mental health benefits associated with our lovely hobby and craft that we do. And with that, I hope you've had a good start to your new year. Hello 2021, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you get some stitching in, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week, guys.